What comes to mind when you hear the phrase heavy music? I assume that it's more likely either about rock music or metal. But what if I'll tell you that actually it's already more than this too, and most likely will be even more in the next 20 years? Sup, mate? My name is Grisha. I'm an amateur musician and a professional social psychologist. Today I'll do my best to explain my point of view on what modern heavy music is and why the phrase modern metal doesn't really fit it well. If you're curious about that at least a little bit, then welcome to the Music Club, homie. You're always welcome here. Chapter 1: Brief History Excursion. If we want to understand what modern heavy music is, we need to zoom out a little bit and look at where heavy music came from. By doing so, we might accidentally find out that the predecessor of the entire direction of music is such a magnificent genre as blues, which emerged in the beginning of 20th century. And if you think that I'm mocking you, go check out what blues scale is and who are the biggest fan of the thing. So, approximately in 1930s we need to pass by rhythm and blues, then we need to pass by rock and roll in 1950s, then we see the first encounter of rock music in 1960s, and finally in 1970s heavy metal started to emerge. Thus, the 1970s is the point where classic metal started its way with such bands like Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden. In the next 20 years after them, such bands like Metallica, Meshuggah, Slipknot, and many others joined the party, and hundreds of subgenres with the word metal in it was born. But then the middle of 2000s took place, and metal music fell out of mainstream, and the era of classic metal came to an end. MTV stopped being what we remembered it to be. Every single young new metal band tried to copy Korn. New, young, thrash or heavy metal bands were almost non-existent by that time, and only the giants had left. Those who were giants continued their way to the top, to the stadium bands, and those who were in the underground left there forever and dissolved with the sands of time. But wait a minute. Isn't it supposed to be the end of heavy music as it is? No. Chapter 2: Heavy, but also modern. Who are the power moving humanity forward? Correct. It's young adults and teenagers. And who were in this age group in the middle of 2000s? Let's see. Crap. It was people who popularized metalcore. Wait, brother. Doesn't metalcore quite literally have the word metal in it and consider it as a metal genre? Yes and no. You, dear listener, could ask me, how the hell is it supposed to work? And I will explain. After nu metal became popular, some people obviously started to hate it, and those guys who hated it very much, almost simultaneously all around the globe, decided to go to the garages and be like, I want to make guitar solos and big choruses cool again, but also I want to add some elements of hardcore punk or something like this. That's roughly how 2000s metalcore was born. Yeah. And what's funny here, that the metalcore quite literally repeated the way of heavy metal. The thing that was supposed to be just another genre of metal music became so big and diverse in its forms that it became a huge music direction on its own. And the name for the thing was core music. Why is it so? Because with the time, the focus in the word metalcore shifted from metal to core. Такая хуйня, ребята. Those teenagers and young adults experimented with their own music so much that it took absolutely enormous amount of traits from other music genres that metal musicians never did. And shit became so wild that over time world saw such things like deathcore, progressive metalcore, post-hardcore, new metalcore, and many others. And this is exactly what modern heavy music is. I think that the best example of the difference in between metal and core music is actually not the music itself, but its influence on the video game soundtracks. Just compare E1 M1 versions in the original Doom in 1993 and the 2016's version, and tell me that they're quite literally the same thing and absolutely nothing changed in 23 years. Also, it took 15 years for heavy metal to grow out of rock music. And you really think that for the 50 years straight, metal music never evolved into something else, right? Chapter 3: What's wrong with modern metal? So, why do I think that modern metal is a bad phrase? Because it is an oversimplification, and oversimplifications make our lives worse. Please welcome the educational part of the video. Our brain is a pretty lazy fella, and it has a tendency to save energy for our survival. And when you have to analyze every single thing in your life, it requires a lot of energy. But let's leave it to smart people. Our brain doesn't want to be smart. So our brain is doing his fun tricks and using oversimplifications to avoid high energy usage. Why is it a problem? Because the product of these tricks are usually such things like all Americans are dumb, the only thing that man needs from woman is sex, and all the heavy music is the same. It's not only about the harmful stereotypes, but also about the human ability to devalue important details to avoid proper analysis. And the most important detail in this little conversation is that every single direction of heavy music were connected to one or two generations of people that were developing it before it went further in its evolutionary trip. Every single generation of musicians is looking for its own unique ways to express themselves and interpret their life experience through art. And if every generation has different experiences, is there any chance that the creative outcome would be very much different too? Чё думаешь, ёпта? Of course, it's very convenient to hide behind the backs of the legends of the past. But isn't it better to stay firm, creating your own cool stuff in the present? The world around us is clearly a mess. But if we would pay a little more attention to detail, we could make it a much better place to live. Thank you so much for being here with me while I yelled at the clouds. I hope that you got at least something useful from this video. Don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and ask any questions in the commentary section below. Next time, I'll introduce you to my list of different entry points in the core music for both newcomers and the veterans of other heavy music areas. See you in the next one. And once again, welcome to the club, homie.